Greetings, hope everybody's doing well. This is Coach Fleischer. Today we're going to be going over types of resistance. And what you'll find is with this presentation and the next one regarding modalities, they could almost be combined as one presentation, but I wanted to differentiate them specifically just so we can take a moment in this presentation to talk about the basic types of resistance that are available for working out. Real quick though, in terms of like throwing down a review, I know we've talked a little bit about muscle, connective tissue, bone, central nervous system, etc. So if we look at muscles and their main adaptations, one thing we haven't gone over, and I just want to touch on this briefly, when you look at muscles, muscles get stronger. They experience what's called hypertrophy, where the muscle fiber breaks down, and through a process of rest, regen, recovery, like we'll talk about later on in this class, they end up growing. So you're trying to put the right stressor on the muscle to get the training response that you want, whether it's get stronger or get more swole. Now, connective tissue, they also get stronger, and bones get stronger, and central nervous system gets better at firing correctly and firing in a coordinated manner. Now, here's the thing though, and I often talk about this with my clients, with muscle, connective tissue, and bones, all of those get stronger at inherently different rates and also get weaker at inherently different rates. So if I have a client who's come in, they've not worked out in a while, one of the things I guide them to do is kind of undershoot on the weights first, a couple weeks out, because they're applying a stressor to their body that they haven't had in a while. So the muscles are going to get stronger, the connective tissue is going to get stronger, and the bones are going to get stronger. But because they're at different rates, you're better off undershooting so you don't end up with some type of itis, like a bursitis, tendonitis, right? In the joints, and the person then can't work out and they're completely laid out thereafter for a couple weeks. So undershoot on the weights first. And interestingly, and this is a quirky little thing, when you look at strength training, usually the strength training gains that you get on the front end of a program have less to do with these guys, the muscles, and more to do with the central nervous system. The central nervous system just gets better at firing in a more coordinated manner. So when you have somebody who's doing a dumbbell bench press and they got the shake and bake going on in their shoulders and their elbows and the dumbbells are wobbling all over the place, that's their central nervous system trying to resolve what the heck is going on and trying to fire the small stabilizer muscles correctly to keep them from dumping the weights on themselves. Eventually, after week 2 or so, that's when you start to see the muscles really go through this hypertrophy phase and they get stronger and they get bigger. But to start off, it's all about coordination. So again, you have somebody who's new to fitness or new to working out, it is all about re-educating their body and how to fire correctly. Then you go ahead and layer on the weights. Undershoot first, throw the weights on after. So with resistance, when you start talking about applying that strength training stimulus to people, you have some basic types of exercise equipment that are available. Gravity clearly is the main player in all of this, right? So whether it's a weight stack, a dumbbell, a medicine ball, a sandbag, oh my God, I can go on and on and on. All of those are being pulled straight down to the floor, right? Even selectorized machines, although there's a little bit of a different component to this. The weight on the selectorized machine is being pulled straight down to the floor. The big difference is the weight on a selectorized machine is redirected over a series of pulleys via a cable to the end user. And where the handle is placed makes a difference. It's basically you're redirecting gravity through that cable and pulley system. Pulleys are designed as simple machines to help us lift things, heavy things, easier, but they're also used to redirect force and redirect resistance. Now, the other side of that equation are bands, the elastic bands that you'll see in any health club or gym. Bands are kind of quirky where they just don't understand gravity, right? You can stand on your head and do a bicep curl if you have the band tied off the right way, and you'll still get the same training response. So bands really offer whatever the weight of the band is. I mean, they're talking half a pound, a couple ounces. Very little resistance specific to gravity. And with bands, the further you stretch them, the more resistance they offer. And with bands, the thicker they are, the more resistance they offer. So, different companies have different tubing. Different tubing will be different colors. Spry tubing out of Libertyville, I can tell you that yellow is their easiest, purple is their second hardest, black is their hardest. I can tell you where red and blue are in that process, and green. So with their bands, you know, I just from having used them in my career so much, I can look at one of their bands and know the type of resistance it's offering. But if you don't know, all you have to do is look at the end of the band, the thickness of it, and you can kind of intuitively figure out just how much resistance is being offered. So if we look at this, you go bands, it's an elastic band. The further it stretches, the more resistance it offers. Interestingly enough, newer bands, older bands, it does make a difference, right? Older bands are more worn in. They'll offer less resistance versus newer bands. So you have to make that judgment call when you're working with bands. Barbells, dumbbells, and medicine balls and other apparatus are being pulled straight down to the floor via gravity, 32 feet per second, 9.8 meters per second squared, whatever measure you'd like to use. And that's a constant for all of those. Selectorized machines, the weight stack is being pulled straight down to the floor and just being redirected over cams and pulleys via cable. Where we have differences in how barbells, dumbbells, and medicine balls feel is how we adjust our position relative to gravity. Think in terms of push-ups flat against the ground versus push-ups against the wall. Push-ups against the ground, much more difficult than push-ups against the wall because you've changed the effect out of gravity, but your position relative to gravity. Kind of think that through as you're doing some of these exercises, right? We'll talk about work and power, etc. later on in this class, but running flat is much more difficult than running up a sledding hill, right? Because you're changing your position relative to gravity and you're pushing yourself up that hill. Push-ups on the ground, much more challenging than push-ups against the wall. You've changed your position relative to gravity. And we know this in the gym when we do incline bench versus flat bench. We do different position bicep curls to change the position relative to gravity. So the biggie I want you to have here is bands not affected by gravity, selectorized machines, it's a redirection of resistance over cams and pulleys, and these are pulled down straight to the floor. So with that, go ahead and get yourself a good workout. I'll catch you later.